This is a Big Facts Network exclusive.
Welcome to the DJ Scream Show. It's 96.1 The Beat. Listen, I got a special. I won't even say guest, family member in the building. The legendary Malli has pulled up on DJ Scream on the DJ Scream Show. Everybody in here clap. Whoever you are, just clap.
Hey, what up?
We don't always clap, but today we're clapping. What's up, Malli?
How are you?
I'm blessed.
Amen.
I'm blessed.
Amen, like your shirt says.
Where have you been? How have you been? There's so much to cover. We'll just have an organic conversation, and this will probably be one of many. I'm bringing you to all my platforms.
Okay.
But we're going to start with this one.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm here for it.
For sure. We're going to get a freestyle out of Malli too, Shot.
Okay.
Eventually. We won't put you on blast today.
Hey, well, yeah, we're going to get one. We're going to get one. And that's what I used to do. I used to think I was a rapper.
Oh, wow. How did the journey start for you? Like, I know offline we were talking about you kind of coming from the Chi-Town to Atlanta, but give everybody a little bit of input on how your journey started and how you landed here in the ATL.
Well, I grew up in a very musical family in Chicago, and if you know the blues, our families in Chicago would travel up to Detroit and play on records, but they really never made any real money doing it. And so for me, my voice, I started singing in the church, obviously. That's where we all kind of start. And then it's wild. God just would take me with my voice all over the place. And so, I talk a little bit in the past about being arrested a lot and being in the street. You kind of be around, you have to kind of learn that you don't have to be a part of your environment where you came from. And so, I had great mentors. So one of my mentors, I went to a church at one point and was like, okay, Lord, what am I doing with my life? And I met my mentor, Alan Moore, in Chicago, and he was a huge advertising jingle producer. And so that kind of got me in on the business side. And then just, being from where I'm from, I've always been attracted to rap music and always been attracted to just music in general. And so my path brought me to New York, and, it was up from there. I always stand on my prayers, and one of my prayers was that, God opens and closes the right doors and let it be plain and clear. And so I happened upon a great group of mentors and people in New York. And, Rosie Perez was one of my mentors who kind of took me in with her group and introduced me to Eric Johnson, who's still my very dear friend. He's like a hip-hop pioneer in film. And, being able to be around Maxwell and these folks, and they'd come and support me with my shows back then. It kind of took me here. I came here after Clive Davis offered me a deal. And Ethiopia actually had to Miriam, shout out to E. She pulled me down here. She was offering me a publishing deal at the time. And, just after looking at the business side and the paperwork, I was like, nah, let me see where this industry is really going. I say Atlanta made me. Chicago kind of broke me, and in a good way. I always say a broken bone is stronger once it's fixed.
There you go.
And then New York raised me. And then Atlanta, I came down here and just seeing how black men in business were like, bro, we should do this, we should do that. I was like, what in the world? Because in Chicago, it's the HNIC.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Gotcha.
you don't talk to nobody. I'm the one who talks, don't talk to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so New York was a bit the same way. And so coming down here, seeing everybody just happily working together, it shocked me. It made me want to be here.
One thing I want to ask you is, because a lot of people ask me is, you talk about your faith and being grounded. How were you able to stay close to that in this industry? Because obviously we know a lot of parts of this industry completely conflict with that. Like completely. Like it's easy to go into a room, and even though you can be strong-minded and be a leader and be one of your own, it's easy to go into a room, a studio, or be a part of a clique and lose yourself. And we see a lot of our young brothers and sisters doing that. So,
man, I ain't even going to act like there weren't times where I wasn't like Pastor Cavassier with, you saw the brand deals. I'm over here, doing the most. So, I think, train up a child in the way that they should go, and they'll never really depart from it. So for me, even at my times where I was like, okay, I've never been a judgmental person, so I could be around people who were doing things and not have to adapt myself totally into it. And so, I just say God never let go of my hand. It wasn't like me, like, okay, I got to stay grounded in my faith. It was God got me here. I'm not I'm a real one. I'm solid. Like if I got you and you got me, I'm gonna always have you. And I felt like God had took me so far and helped. My grandmother used to say, when your hand is in the lion's mouth, pull it out slow. And the whole industry is the lion's mouth. So I always had a kind of, just coming from the streets in Chicago and, having to pivot and be, we all grew up, in a time where when crack hit and really devastated our communities. And you see our nurses and our accountants, women becoming prostitutes, and it wasn't a safe place all the time for me as a kid. And so me having to always watch my back and just kind of stay towards the light. I just say God, he just never let go of my hand.
What about the space of, because we all deal with this in the industry too, of conflict. So person A has an issue with person B, and you're like, not in the middle of it, but you're cool with person A and person B. We don't have problems with anybody. You got a lot of love for person A and person B.
Yeah.
Person A and person B have not figured out how to resolve their conflict. They can't even be in the same space. You may be having an event. You want person A and person B there. You know it can't happen. Like how have you been able to navigate through that through your tenure?
It have not been easy. So first of all, when it comes to, if we're talking the music industry on the business side, I'm loyal to who's paying for my team.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and normally whoever I took money from is somebody I respected anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I would ask person A, do you mess with so-and-so? Because if you do, cool, we all gonna be in here together. And so I would kind of, thank God for, I used to ask God, why I'm in the streets as a kid and having to see all this. And, all that was my training ground to be like, if I ask Future, do you mess with so-and-so? He cool with you? And he say, yeah, all right. Then I ain't having him in here. Because he didn't say, don't have him in here, but he just said, yeah, all right. And Future just gave me all this work.
Right.
I'm going to be cool and solid with him. And so, a lot of times I just look and see what kind of spirit they're going to bring in this building. Like, my energy always been like, quit playing with me. It's too much adversity in the Black community from white people trying to hold you down and not let you shine or not let you eat. You doing the same amount of work as this guy, and it's always that. So why would we do that to each other? And so I had to be that person in my family. I'd be like, oh, this like Boss and Boosie. They in my family, and one of them is a vice lord and the other one is a GD. Quit playing with me. When you come in here, it's neutral ground.
Got you.
So that's kind of how I played it. If I thought somebody would be a problem, obviously I knew this guy had beef with this guy. It's like, okay, they can't be in here at the same time. And if you question me, oh, Malli, I seen you had on old boy up in here. Quit playing with me. I don't even do that. I'm mother. I'm cool. I saw an example of a strong Black woman who I was named after keep the peace and be like, don't worry about she don't like her. Don't worry about he don't like him. Just put the good Lord in front of you and quit it. We got to all we stronger together. And really, I just remember one time Wayne and Tip were in, and they weren't like best buddies. And I was cooking, and I was like, y'all, Twitter had just came out. I'm like, how many Twitter followers you got? How many Twitter followers you got? Think about what if y'all, boom, boom. And then all of a sudden, not saying I did it, but all of a sudden, a couple months later, they're on tour together.
Planting the seed.
You know what I mean? And so,
yeah,
shout out to 2 Chainz because he did the Breakfast Club interview and shouted me out. And because they were like, why do you think New York rappers don't get together and aren't making it happen like Atlanta? Why? And he was like, because you have places like Tree with Malli, and she makes this food and everybody come together, and it's like you in one room, I'm in one room. We supposed to be like a big family reunion, just do like the old Motown days. And so, I try not to focus on beef, I always watch out and be like, okay, neither one of them can be in here right now because I'm not even going to be playing that game. You know what I mean? If y'all can't see that the world is jealous of you and against you, why y'all doing that to each other just irritates me. You know?
Yeah.
It's too much. Too many of our ancestors paid the price.
Went through too much for this foolishness.
Too much.
Yeah, for this foolishness.
Quit playing with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I like that. I like that phrase. You onto something. Quit playing with me. I like that.
Oh, I said that for years. Boy, stop and quit playing with me was like, I said it 100 times a day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you know what it means for whatever situation.
Yeah. Listen, we talk about Tree Sound. A lot of amazing records. A lot of amazing people came out of there. And we could talk about them for hours. I told you got to do a documentary.
Yeah.
But Malli, you got to understand, and I talked to, there's people in my family that come from this background. You got to understand that, do you understand that you had an event for Farrakhan?
Yeah.
Do you get that? Like, do you understand? Like, there's a lot of moments.
Yeah.
But you understand that was a moment of
yeah.
like, do you remember Farrakhan talking to Young Thug? I wish this.
No, I'm going to tell you a story. I had every Muhammad from Alabama to South Carolina, Chicago. I'm like, my whole phone by 11 a.m. for 6 months was blown up. The minister, and I'm like, man, quit playing with me. You know what I mean? Because I come from a background where my mother's Eastern European, Jewish. And so, not that I grew up with anyone because she was disowned for marrying my father, but I just don't come from a space where I don't want anybody hating on anyone. You hurt people, but you don't, so for me, I was like, man, I don't want no anti-Semitism in here. I don't want no problem. I don't want no smoke. And so I hit my boy, Young Tut, and I said, your grandfather, the Honorable, who I have so much respect for and love for, because we got to know each other. I said, your grandfather keeps hitting me and got my whole, I can't even, I'm in fairy tale land doing like some of the biggest records, helping A&R, bringing brand deals together, and this guy's calling me controversial. And so being in trouble as a young person, I always realize if you do this, down the line, this might bite you. And I was facilitating Jewish power men in LA to help us here in my building. I never talked about having Leor up or having Mike Karen and Craig Coleman and all these people, and that they're asking me what my thoughts are and making connections behind the scenes. But long story short, when I finally got on the phone with the Honorable Minister, he said, Malli, who are you? And I said, I'm just a child of God. I don't take myself so seriously. He said, I know, but he said from L.A. to Ice Cube to Ludacris to every rapper that I've talked to, they say, you're the one to bring them all together, and I'm doing another Million Man March. And so, of course, I want the young guys, Thug and Big Crit and you and, 2 Chainz and whoever. I called my list of people, and then they gave me a list, and I said yay or nay. Because I didn't want 2 Chainz had called me and said, Malli, do you think I could take a piece of can you record it? And I said, I'm already going to record the whole thing on my board. And so my one thing with them was I don't want no pictures with them. Because at the time I didn't want his reputation of being anti-Semitic to affect what I was doing. And so we ended up taking one personally. But it was a moment, I mean, I drove up to the building. There was 100 black men in suits. It was 99 degrees that day earlier.
I know.
And I said, forget it. We ain't doing it. They about to pass out. It was Ramadan. I was like, I said, who is the head Muhammad? I said, it's off. Tell the minister turn around, because I didn't want anybody dying of heat stroke in them suits. Because my building was known as the peaceful building. And so, we walk in and they brought everybody inside, and 2 of them hit the floor, boom, from heat stroke. But it was a moment, wasn't it?
We only get progress with uncomfortable times and conversations and such. You know what I'm saying?
That
That's
was
the
wild.
quote.
I got I had this older white man. His name was Andrew Glasser, and I'd met him a month before the minister called me. His family owned the Glasser Bow Company, the first to make a violin. And so when I decided that this would be a good idea, the minister was like, "This is what I want to do." I asked him to send me a special violin, and his grandson said it's sitting right when you walk in the door in a glass case. So I gifted him that, and we got to know each other a little bit. And he said, "You're a leader. You need to be." And I'm like, "Man, I want the pressure.
Yeah.
I have the fire in me to be the Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. I have, Nina Simone said I'm not nonviolent to Martin Luther King. So for me, I don't want to go so far down that lane where it becomes obsessive to me. And I feel like if we come from a peaceful place and we all just put God and love first, it's all. I mean,
that's one thing we have a lot in common. But that's one thing we have in common is that we just value our peace. Because
that's it, man.
I tell you, Molly was on me about you're doing an event and they're going to pay homage to you. I'm like ducking in the corner.
No, I asked him for like 3 years. Like, why won't he do it?
My wife is trying to and I'm just like, you know what? Because it's just, it ain't about me.
Yeah, same
you know what I'm
for
saying?
me.
And that's just the thing. Like, thank you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I get my flowers in the grocery store because I still have to go touch my fruits and my organic. So I have to touch them.
Yeah.
And it is not a time I go to the grocery store I don't get my flowers.
Yeah.
So that's what I know. Like, if I don't, it's kind of like a woman who get hollered at everywhere. If I go to the grocery store and nobody says nothing, I feel like weird. Like, am I falling off? Am I tripping? Am I not doing what I'm supposed to be doing? You know what I mean? But I always get my flowers in the grocery store, and those flowers has begun to come from people I wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
Like, there was like a middle-aged white woman that was walking up to me. I was like, "Oh, it's the feds. What did I do?"
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And she's like, "I love your mixtape ship." I'm like, "Whoa." You know what I'm saying? So that's what it's always been to me. You
always walked in with this kingly energy, and as you started talking more about your spirituality and God, I'm like, I get it. He's God's son.
Oh yeah, for
That's
sure.
why I just wanted to really celebrate you, and I'm like,
I
why is he? I was like, he don't mess with me.
Nah, it's not
he don't
that.
want to come. He don't want to have a dinner.
It's just that. Nah, I wanted that dinner because I wanted the food. I wanted that dinner. I wanted the food. It's just that. I don't know. I feel like I got so much more to do.
Yeah, no.
That's one part of it. And
I get that.
There's a thin line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna just be honest with you. Like, even as much love and positive energy that was at those dinners and at Tree Sound, still some negativity here.
100.
You know what I'm
Haters
saying?
and jealousy.
So it's kind of that's what I'm saying. So for me, it's like when I learn how to protect my aura, my space, and my energy, and just like that, it's like I'd rather just come with 5 or 10 people, Molly, and my real you know what I'm saying? Not to knock anybody else, but you hear the whispers.
How I am.
You hear the whispers, and it's like, people are hurt people for Molly, so they know better. It's just kind of like I just protect energy, and less is more.
No, for real. I mean, once I remember at the BMI Awards, I was talking to Ludacris, and Ray Daniels walks up and he's like, "Molly, everybody loves Molly," and I'm like, "No, they don't."
Right.
But if they say they don't, it's like when Barack was on top.
Yeah.
It was others who didn't.
You'll be outcasted.
You'll be out because you already know. But my grandmother used to say, "Good fruit don't come from a bad tree." And so, you could say what you want about you. They could say what they want about you. They could say what they want about me. People are always going to talk and try to make something up. But God don't bless a tree that, ain't good. So I just keep it moving, man.
So like I said, we could talk about that part of life forever, but talk to me now about life post Tree Sound. You know what I'm saying? You're married.
Yeah. So I'm married. Well, it's interesting because Eric and I met. We were losing the loan at Tree Sound, and my partner came to me. We got 60 days. They're going to close the doors. I'm like, man. Nah. And I had a lot going on, And people don't know I did a lot in advertising. I was, I never took a check from Tree Sound ever in 15 years. I made my money in advertising and doing other things. Because the studio business doesn't sustain all those people. You know what I mean? And so for me, when Eric and I met, I was like, hey, I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I'm not here, if they can pay the mortgage because it was a failing business that I came into, put my money in. They were going out of business and said, I need you. Groove was like, I need you. Paul needs you. And so, I grew where I was planted there. I had an unbelievable run, but I was ready to go when we had lost that loan, which was almost 10 years ago. And when I met the black banker, I was like, man, okay, Jeezy talking about how he helped him buy up the whole, he's done things like helping Slutty Vegan get all her places, his team.
I need to meet this banker.
Yeah. So, I was like, okay, cool. He said, I'm going to put on the loan if you leave, the loan leaves. So that caused tension. And so I made a play I made a 5-year play. In 5 years, I'm out. And so I did all that I could do. I was like, I ain't helping nobody else. And then here comes Dej Loaf saying, can you help my friend Thug? And I'm like, man, Thug and Gunna were kind of the last ones. And 21 that I was like, okay, I'm gonna help out and get that done. But I planned the Return of the Dreamers. I planned the Earth Girl Camp. I had everything planned out. I got my own studio, which is Stonewood, and I put 2 producers in it. And during COVID, I was like, I asked Groove, like, how I could tell everybody I'm leaving. He's like, you'll know the right time. And then COVID hit. Boom. And it wasn't like I had to make the big announcement that I would have had to make after being the big sister for 15 years and building this community. And so God blessed me with COVID to really show me who people were around me. And when I woke up and realized that I hadn't been using my gifts that God gave me to glorify him, who blessed me on my whole journey, I'll be like, here's what I want to do, Lord. Bless this season versus, Lord, where do you want me to be? And so I'm sleeping at my studio, trying to put my energy in like I used to do the Tree Sound when I first booked it. When I first became partners, I didn't book it for 6 months. I just put my vibe in the building. And so I'm laying there and God spoke to me and I had 2 people call me and be like, Malli, you're not at Tree Sound. You're the connector. All my plaques came from me meeting so-and-so there. You got to have a place. And I was like, this is now my sanctuary. I'm not going to make this studio what Tree was. Stonewood is my sanctuary where if you're my personal friend that I would leave my kids with, then you can come here. And so I got this bright idea, said you need land. I Googled commercial property near me. Boop. Here comes the Montessori school, 12 minutes from the studio, almost 10 acres. I called the black banker. I said, hey, I can't say my nigga.
You say
okay, cool. I was like, my nigga, I got this property. It's hard. And I'm like, he's like, oh, why you got to do stuff so big? Didn't you just get the house for the Earth Girls and the this and that? And you got the studio. And he said, listen, I just lost my wife and best friend. And I'm not doing anything. And then fast forward.
This is the banker.
This is the black banker.
I've already met the banker.
You met the banker. That's my husband now.
Thank you, God.
And so we only for 10 years didn't know nothing personal. I knew he was a deacon. I knew he was a banker. He was a good brother. A lot of the people who were in my building, JD, Killer Mike, T.I., they was meeting him when he was running commercial lending with his team at Citizens Trust. And so I'm helping them be creative, safe space, get brand deals. He's helping them keep the money straight, get land and whatever. And we didn't know anything personal. And so he called me a couple weeks later and said, hey, Malli, you've done so much for the community. Let me look at this place and see how I can help you. And he came on the property. He's like, wait a minute. Kiwi trees, cherry trees, pear trees. This is like garden to me. God is on this property. I said, I know, man. I said, but I ain't attached to it. First, when he called me and told me his wife, I said, bro, I was so depressed. I'm like, I didn't know what my journey was going to be. I wasn't singing. I wasn't putting out music. I was producing commercials and I went back to production, producing from film scoring and stuff. And he was like, God is on this land. And so in a matter of really like the first lunch, it was like, and then he hit me and asked me, let's have dinner. And we were on the phone for 4-6 hours, falling asleep like teenagers.
Exactly how I have my wife. That's when you know.
And we prayed after the second or third call. And I was like, wait, I ain't prayed with anybody in 20 years, not no man.
Wow.
And so God did it. It was like he's from D.C., I'm from Chicago, but he moved here, went to Morehouse. We come from the same generation, of people. We watched the same sitcoms growing up. There wasn't no age difference. Spiritually, both our grandmothers raised us. You know what I mean? I had my parents too, and he had his parents as well. But, it was just too many similarities. And, nobody never saw me with nobody in 15 years. They didn't know. Was she straight? She gang? She went? She done? She done? I'm like, everything God made me, but nobody knew my personal business. And so we decided after we fell in love that God wanted us to share that if he could do it for us, he could do it for you. Because I wasn't looking. I had made the bread. I had done this. I had done everything. I got 100 plaques I ain't even put up on the wall. I'm got Drake and Big Sean and Wiz giving me plaques and Mike Will saying, I hear here's a plaque for Ray Shrimmer. I had all this accolades and I wasn't happy. And so he was like, yo, his dad worked with the likes of Nancy Wilson, Nina Simone, all these wonderful artists and helped, create the Maryland Jazz Festival. He's like, I can't believe God gave you this voice and nobody knows it. And you singing around the house, you should use your gift. And so we went on a 3-year journey. You asked where I've been everywhere. I've been to Memphis. I've been, and what's wild is when we talk about my impact and people are like, is anybody helping you? You helped everybody. I mean, I get called from drummer boy like, Malli, I see you doing your thing. You got the soul. I see you doing the blues because you from Chicago, but that came from Memphis. So he like, you got to go get down with Boo Mitchell. And then my husband becomes the, A&R manager, everything. We start writing together and so now I'm putting out music and it's really like our love story. What God did for us was say, you guys both have gifts that you have not yet tapped, and it's your time to now do that. And so it took me a minute because I'm like, man, after everything I know, why I want to put myself out there as an artist, It's a lot of pressure. And, when Whitney died, I was like, man, they'll build you up and then tear you down, make South Park commercials about you and just tear you down. I was disgusted with like you said, being in that building, being so peaceful, the things that I saw, the teams that I saw come up together, this guy putting his kids, their house up for mortgage to manage them, been with them for 15 years, and then so-and-so offers you to go on tour with Jay-Z and you leave your whole team behind. Or, this one is built in my business by these folks and then they leave you behind. It made me just disgusted, just watching people do for fame and money. And I didn't want that reputation of being an artist. It really turned me off from using my gift. And, now the love came in. I'm like singing around. I'm like the sun, the sun is out. My husband, he brings me joy. And, some people like, oh God, here they are again with their love stories. Right. But you know what? If you don't like it, don't see it. I had a lot of people that were like, hence our song, I'm Not Sorry, I'm in Love. They're like, you weren't even looking. I've been out here looking for a man for 10 years. Wow. I'm like, well, quit looking. Don't nobody want no Thirsty Thursday anyway. You looking around, you know what I mean? Like, give it to God and stop looking. That's when things happen,
Yeah, absolutely. So what can we look forward to? Like, obviously, we know you're creating music. There'll be several projects, books, documentaries, reunions. Like, what can we look forward to?
You know what's wild? Like last night, hence the big afro, I straighten and blow it out and get real Lena Horne on you when I need to. Shout out to the Billie Holiday Theater. I just headlined in New York. But last night I did a tribute to Angie, who I thought we was going to be on tour with. So for me, I just feel like every day is not promised. And God is moving in our lives and having me on stages. Obviously, it might be a little bit easier for me coming out as a so-called new artist because, I've helped so many people. And so we're just going where the good vibes are. We just spent some time with Juvenile. Was like, yo, I grew up with Trombone Shorty and John Baptiste. So we go over to Trombone Studio and we, wherever really the spirit leads us.
Good vibes.
We're just having fun. You know what I mean? I don't have no expectations, but God has blessed everybody who slept on my couch. And so I know that I got high hopes.
There you go. You familiar with Southern Soul? You hip to the Southern Soul movement?
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
actually, Eric's putting me on because he got some friends who are really into it. And when we were down in New Orleans, he hit me to a couple guys who are really like doing it big. And it's wild because like I'm doing soul, blues, whatever's really in me. And so, I like that little movement. It's fire.
Yeah. Good vibes.
Yeah,
good vibes.
it's good. I mean, I come from Chicago with the steppers and the,
Yeah.
I mean, we
yeah.
got all that vibe, but the Southern soul is cool too. Although I come from Chicago, I grew up every summer in North Carolina. And so we would come up to Atlanta and New Orleans. So, people are like, dang, I thought you was just a Midwest person. Nah, they took me out the streets when I started getting in trouble. They was like, you going to snap beans on this porch. So, yeah, I like the Southern soul.
Before we wrap, I definitely want you to talk specifically to the young woman that's let's just use the marker, getting out of high school or college, and she is getting into the entertainment industry, whether it be music, film, or whatever the case is. What gem would you give to that young woman?
I'm gonna give it to women and men.
Okay, give it to everybody.
But I'm going to focus on, just because you asked me about women.
Mm-hmm.
If you're getting into the industry, you're asking.
Mm-hmm.
Learn how the money is collected. I'm gonna be the dead
Learn
horse.
your business.
Because I was the kid who was like, man, my lemons and the sugar cost this and the cups. I gotta raise my prices because I ain't gonna make no money.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's so quick to show their art. So 2 things. Don't be afraid of small beginnings. You don't know nothing.
Facts.
It's like when you were 16, I'm 16 now. Then you're 18, now I'm now 18. Then you're 21, I'm like, dang, I didn't know nothing when I was 18. The young person who's getting out of anything, you want to be in entertainment, realize, everybody says, don't have a backup plan. You need to just go for it. No. You got to make bread too. You got to understand how the money's collected. But you also have to be true to your art. It's a very fine line of doing things. Like Quincy Jones, who was, I was very blessed having Clarence Avant as my mentor, to spend a lot of time with Quincy. He was like, when money enters the creative room and the conversation, all the creativity and the soul, God leaves. And so with your creativity, let it mature. I mean, the music industry is exploitive. They always want to, you got to be young. You got to be young because they want you to sign dumb contracts and not know anything. So if you're young, learn how. You don't give away a cookie that you baked and say, pay me whenever, how am I going to get paid? You don't just give it all away. You make sure you understand the business, and don't be in a rush to share your art. I used to tell producers who used to come in my building, I remember Kane Beats. I was like, bro, don't play me no beats. You just started. And then I was like, when you do 1,000 beats, let me hear them. And he was like, 1,000? He come to me, Molly, I think my 1,000 beats was super bass for Nicki Minaj. I'm like, okay, then.
That's the one you want.
You understand. Fine wine takes time.
Yeah.
If you're getting into music industry, young women or men, and you put a time limit on yourself, you might as well not even do it. Yeah. Because the time is going to pass anyway. You might as well just put your head down, get your grind on, learn the business, and have fun with your art. It's 2 separate things, but you got to have both.
A gem from Malli. I appreciate you pulling up on me. You're
Thank
welcome
you for having
anytime. Malli got bars coming soon.
Hey, check out my song, I'm Not Sorry. It's doing really great.
Okay.
Yeah, it's streaming really great right now. And got a lot of love from Chicago. Overseas, I've been doing some shows and some stuff over there. But
well, when are you doing that? You might have already done it.
Last night I did City Winery.
That's City Winery,
that was
but much love to Angie.
Yeah.
But when are you doing the Malli show in Atlanta?
We've been talking about it. I'm funny. I'm like, man, everybody like, you done did record releasing parties for everybody else. When you gonna do the same thing? It's kind of corny to do it for yourself.
How I feel about the dinner.
Exactly.
Okay,
I'm like you with the dinner. When you guys get together and figure it out, I'm ready for the take you out of retirement. And everybody knows I know everyone, and they've all been saying, Molly, what can I do to help? And how can I be a part of it? You need bars from me, this, that, and the other. I feel like you and the banker need to get together, and we need to do this Molly Wilson, Molly mixtape.
That's done. That's already done. I met the banker. You don't know how bad I need the banker right now. So I'm gonna be talking to the banker, and then we'll put it together. I just think it'll be fly. As you express yourself, and people are gravitating towards your expression and everything. And not a thing that's just organic.
Yeah,
it's
man.
like, it could be even something people are aware of Wednesday and it's happening Thursday or Friday.
That's what he said.
You know what I'm
I'll
saying?
do like Cole and a Chance, like, hey, we having this tomorrow. Anybody want to pull up?
It.
Yeah,
Get
I like
a
that
babysitter,
kind of
pull
thing.
up. you know, if
It's
not,
it's
all
interesting
love.
when you've been behind the scene. You know, you've been behind the scene for so long, supporting other people to make it about yourself is really, you know, it's not
I get it.
comfortable. You
If
know?
anybody gets it, I get it.
Yeah,
I
but we'll do
definitely get
it.
for sure.
But yeah, so have you heard my song? I'm Not Sorry.
I've heard your song, and I'm always a fan of everything Molly does.
Yeah.
So you can do no wrong to me.
Well, thank you. But I have done a lot of wrong. And if you were one of my first interns, I was hard on people.
Really?
Yeah, because I was brought up by a heavy-handed black man who, I mean, his friends used to be like, Rob, they're just girls. We would have to work alongside her.
So are you getting that
know?
back now that you're a creator? Are you getting some of that back from? Are people about it being? Are you getting some karma back? Not karma in a bad way.
No,
but
actually, I got karma back before the banker. So, and I knew that was what it was because no one's perfect.
Yeah.
And so, you know, for me, I had Mother's Day. My whole hallway would be filled with mamas like, hey, he made me your Brussels sprouts. His boy ain't never cleaned up nothing. He cleaned up the kitchen. You know, so my heavy-handedness wasn't me trying to embarrass anybody.
Gotcha.
You know, I apologize if I have. But, you know, I grew into being a leader. And I think being a great leader is understanding that you can't talk to everybody like they came from the streets. You come from the streets, you be like, no, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to talk to this person the same way I talk to this person. But maybe this person didn't grow up with a father. Maybe this person grew up and his mother was hard on him, so you could be hard on him. And so I kind of had to learn that everyone's different and, you know, you can't talk to everybody the same way. When you come from the streets, I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it 100, just be myself. That's selfish. You know what I mean? Like, it's what we learn. I'm just going to say it. I lost a lot of money for just saying it. You know what I mean? When I should have just been like, okay, I see how they roll. I'm going to roll this way. You know?
That's a different perspective. I like it. I like it though.
Yeah.
I just learned something myself. Molly, I appreciate you.
I
You're
appreciate
welcome
you having
anytime.
me.
Follow her on social media.
Yeah, you get the black banker on here talking about the bread and how y'all, you know,
We
he's
need
seen
that.
it all.
We need that bread right now.
He's seen it all. You know, people will fear you and saying, don't get a house and interest rates is higher. Wait till they drop. He be hipping me like, yo, our parents had 19% interest rates.
Yeah.
This is incredible what's happening.
Same
They try to
thing.
tell you it's going to get low. If you can get yourself as a black man or any man into a house, man,
Own
do it.
as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Just
even if
own.
it's a little tiny thing, because you're going to look back 5-10 years go so quickly.
What if you own that little tiny thing on Glenwood or Edgewood 20 years ago? Oh man. When they were like 15,000.
Man, quit it. Quit it.
You know what I'm
and
saying?
they were telling me you need to buy over
yeah,
there.
and I thought people was trying to hustle me. Like,
Me
I
too.
give you my money.
Me
You can
too.
Run
I
off
don't
on
pay
me.
taxes and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, no.
Yeah. You live
I
and you
didn't
learn.
do it. Well,
yeah.
but yeah, I actually bought in other areas that did well too. So, you know, I didn't know nothing about stocks and bonds. I didn't come from that kind of trust fund families. And so me was like, yo, my grandfather used to say, they can't build more land.
You're right about that.
Yeah.
They can cut down trees, but they can't build more land. You're right about that.
Thank you for having me. It's been an honor. You know, I have so much respect for you.
And likewise. I appreciate you. Keep it locked right here. DJ Scream Show. Big shouts out to Molly.
Oh, wait, and follow me, y'all. Follow me on when you say Molly, everybody's like, I'll be trying to follow you.
Yeah.
Y'all looking for Molly Ringwald, Molly. I'm Mali, like the country in
down.
Africa.
Break it down.
So IAM_MALI. That's where you can find me on Instagram. If you want to know, I am doing limited and intimate shows selling out.
Okay.
You know, so I'm doing a show sold out in Chicago. MollyWilson.com. Put your email in and we'll send you if we're in your city and, you know, what I'm doing next. You'll get the skinny.
Okay. MollyWilson.com. Molly Wilson.
MALI.
MALI. MollyWilson.com.
Like Bali, but with an M.
There it is. It's a DJ Scream Show 96.1 to be. Salute.
This is a Big Facts Network exclusive.
I was going to be sitting up here